I sat there in the grand ballroom, the air thick with the scent of fresh white roses and the warm flicker of candlelight dancing across the tables. My 7-year-old grandson, Leo, fidgeted beside me, his small fingers pushing a red toy car back and forth on the pristine white tablecloth. The jazz band played softly in the corner, their melodies weaving through the chatter of guests and the clink of wine glasses. It was my son Alex's second wedding, to Ava, a woman who'd swept into our lives like a sudden breeze. I adjusted Leo's tiny bow tie, my touch light, as if I were brushing away the ghosts of the past. His mother, Maria, had always tied it just so, with a smile that lit up the room like morning sun through our old kitchen window in Phoenix. Leo's eyes, so much like Maria's clear and innocent, darted around, avoiding the crowd. "Grandma," he whispered suddenly, grabbing my hand with a grip that was too tight for such little fingers. His palm was cold, clammy, like he'd been holding an ice cube. "I want to leave right now." My heart skipped. The boy wasn't one for tantrums. He was quiet, thoughtful, ever since we lost her. I leaned down, smelling the faint apple shampoo in his hair from the bath I'd given him that morning. "What's wrong, my sweet boy? Tell Grandma." He trembled, his voice barely above a breath. "Grandma, you didn't look under the table, did you?" The words hit me like a chill wind, rattling the windows on a stormy night. I tried to smile, to calm him, but his wide eyes held a fear that didn't belong on a child's face. The elderly couple across from us chatted obliviously about how fast time flies, their voices fading as I slowly lifted the edge of the tablecloth. Shadows played under there, the wooden chair legs stark against the carpet, Leo's shiny shoes swinging nervously. And then I saw it, a small folded paper, innocuous yet ominous, lying like a discarded secret. My breath caught. I reached for it with a trembling hand, feeling the room's warmth drain away. Leo pressed against me, his breathing quick and shallow. The paper unfolded under the dim candle glow. "Table 8, add shrimp to the child's serving." Simple words, scrawled in haste, but they slammed into me like a physical blow. Leo was deathly allergic to shrimp, we all knew it. One bite, and his throat would swell, his little body fighting for air. Who would do this? On today of all days? I stood abruptly, pulling Leo close, ignoring the puzzled glances from nearby guests. The music swelled, but it sounded distant, muffled. Memories flooded in unbidden, pulling me back to warmer times, before the darkness. Maria had been the heart of our family, her laughter filling our modest home in the Phoenix suburbs. I'd visit on those windy afternoons, the scent of desert sage drifting in as she handed me a bowl of her famous chili, spicy and rich, made with love. "Try this, Mom Betty," she'd say, her voice soft, eyes sparkling. Leo, toddling after a ball in the yard, would giggle, and we'd sit on the porch, talking about nothing and everything. Her dreams for Leo, Alex's latest promotion. She was gentle, never a harsh word, always cutting fruit into fun shapes for Leo's snacks, or singing lullabies that lulled him to sleep. I remembered one night vividly, the air heavy with worry. Leo, just a toddler, burned with fever, his cries weak. Maria held him, tears silent on her cheeks. "Mom Betty, I'm so scared," she whispered. We took turns with cool cloths, the clock ticking through the hours until dawn broke, and the fever did too. She hugged me then, grateful, and I promised I'd always be there. Our family felt unbreakable, like the sturdy oak in our backyard that withstood every storm. But storms come unexpected. The phone rang one afternoon while I scrubbed dishes, suds dripping from my hands. A police officer's voice, cold and factual. "Mrs. Williams, there's been an accident. Maria's car, hit by a runaway truck on the highway, gone in an instant." The funeral was under pouring rain, the sky weeping with us. Leo, 4 years old, clutched my skirt. "Where's Mommy?" he'd ask, and I'd choke back sobs, saying she was in a beautiful place. Alex shattered, his shoulders heaving at the graveside. He threw himself into work after, leaving early, returning late, the house echoing with absence. Neighborhood whispers started, then sympathetic at first, offers of casseroles and playdates for Leo. But as months passed, they turned curious. "How's Alex holding up? Poor boy needs a mother figure." I became that for Leo, walking him to school, tucking him in with stories of Maria's kindness. Yet the pain lingered, a constant ache, like the creak of our old porch swing on quiet evenings. Now, at this wedding, that ache twisted into terror. I scanned the room, Ava posing for photos in her beaded gown, her smile flawless. Alex toasting guests, his joy masking old wounds. The waiters glided by, trays laden with appetizers, including those cursed shrimp. Had someone already acted? My mind raced, the note burning in my fist. Leo tugged my sleeve, eyes pleading. I had to protect him, but who was behind this? The answer felt close, hidden in the shadows of our fractured family. The days after Maria's death blurred into a haze of grief, the house feeling emptier than ever, like a shell washed up on a lonely beach. Alex changed overnight, his once easy laugh gone, replaced by long hours at the office, the click of his briefcase, the only sound marking his comings and goings. I'd wake to the smell of strong coffee he'd brew at dawn, staring out the window at the rising sun over Phoenix's dusty hills, his eyes hollow. "I have to keep busy, Mom," he'd say, voice flat, avoiding my gaze. Leo suffered most, his chatter fading to silence, drawings of happy families turning somber. I'd pick him up from preschool, his small hand in mine, the neighborhood kids' shouts echoing as we walked past blooming cacti and sun-baked lawns. I stepped in fully then, moving into their guest room with my knitting basket and favorite teacups, turning it into a makeshift home. Mornings, I'd make oatmeal with cinnamon, just like Maria did, the warm spice filling the kitchen, a small ritual to chase away the chill. "Grandma, tell me about Mommy," Leo would ask at bedtime, curled under his blanket printed with stars. I'd stroke his hair, voice steady despite the lump in my throat, recounting how Maria sang him "Twinkle, Twinkle," or cut apples into smiling faces. Those stories kept her alive the way she'd dance in the living room to old jazz records, twirling Leo until he giggled, or bake cookies on rainy days, the oven's heat warding off the gloom. Lucy, my adopted daughter, became our anchor. I'd taken her in as a teen, her own family lost to hardship, and she'd bloomed into a kind-hearted woman with a laugh like bells. She worked at a local bookstore, surrounded by the musty scent of pages, but she'd drop by often, arms full of coloring books or homemade treats. "Look what I brought, Leo Bug," she'd say, kneeling to his level, her floral skirts brushing the floor. They'd draw together at the kitchen table, crayons scattering, her praise genuine. "That's the best house ever." I'd watch, sipping tea, noticing how her eyes softened on Alex when he trudged in, tie loosened. There was a depth there, more than sibling affection, a quiet longing in her glances, the way she'd linger to help with dishes, their hands brushing in the suds. I saw it but said nothing, fearing to stir the fragile peace. Neighborhood reactions varied. Old Mrs. Ramirez next door would cluck sympathetically over the fence, sharing tamales and gossip. "That poor man needs joy again." Others whispered at community barbecues, smoke from grills wafting, wondering if Alex would date. Media even picked up Maria's accident briefly, a local news segment on highway safety, her photo flashing, stirring fresh pain. Police had investigated, ruling it a tragic mishap, no foul play, but the void remained. Lucy's presence warmed our home like sunlight through curtains. She'd read to Leo, her voice animated, or take him to the park, pushing swings amid children's shouts and the rustle of palm leaves. One evening, as thunder rumbled outside, she baked cookies, the chocolate aroma mingling with rain-scented air. Alex joined unexpectedly, smiling faintly for the first time in months. "Smells like old times," he murmured. Lucy blushed, handing him one. I felt a spark, but tensions simmered. Alex's guilt over not being there more. Leo's nightmares where he'd cry for Maria. As seasons shifted, fall's crisp air bringing golden leaves, our routines solidified. I'd knit scarves by the window, watching Leo play in the yard, his toy car zooming over dirt paths. Lucy's visits increased, her subtle care mending us. But one day, Alex came home early, eyes brighter. "Mom, I've met someone at work. Her name's Ava." My knitting needles paused, a knot forming in my stomach. Was this healing or haste? He spoke of her with enthusiasm I hadn't heard since Maria, but Leo, overhearing, clutched his car tighter. The neighborhood buzzed anew. "Alex dating? About time. Yet I sensed shadows lurking, wondering if this Ava could truly fill our gaps or widen them. The afternoon, Alex brought Ava home. The Arizona sun hung low, casting long shadows across our porch, the air humming with cicadas. I busied myself in the kitchen, chopping onions for tacos, their sharp scent mixing with sizzling ground beef, a family staple Maria had perfected. Leo played quietly on the floor with wooden blocks, stacking them into wobbly towers, his focus intense. When the door opened, Alex's voice carried excitement. "Mom, meet Ava." She stepped in, elegant in a light blue dress, waves of hair framing a face with a rehearsed smile, like she'd practiced in a mirror. "Mrs. Williams, what a cozy home," she said, eyes sweeping the room, lingering on the wall of photos, especially one of Maria cradling baby Leo, her joy radiant. I wiped my hands on my apron, forcing warmth. "Call me Betty. Coffee?" We sat at the table, steam rising from mugs, the bitter brew grounding me. Ava complimented everything, the decor, the aroma of dinner, as if reading from a script. Alex beamed, hand on hers, pride evident. "Ava's in marketing at my firm. She's brilliant." She laughed lightly, serving herself an enchilada with precise grace. "This looks amazing, Betty. You'll have to share the recipe." Leo, at the table's end, poked his food silently, avoiding her gaze. Neighborhood friends had mentioned her already. Heard Alex has a new lady, pretty one, from the city, adding pressure to like her. As we ate, the mango salad's sweetness contrasting the spicy sauce, Ava pulled a chocolate bar from her purse. "For you, Leo." "It's yummy." He froze, hands gripping his fork, then turned away without a word. Alex frowned. "Leo, manners." I intervened softly. "He's tired, son. Long day." Tension hung like humidity before a storm. Lucy arrived late, her bookstore shift over, carrying fresh cookies. She sat opposite, eyes darkening as Ava linked arms with Alex. Lucy's fork paused mid-air, fingers tightening. I caught her sigh, heavy with unspoken feelings. Dinner chatter flowed, work anecdotes, light jokes, but Ava's laugh felt staged, echoing oddly in our home. After, Ava insisted on dishes, humming cheerfully, sleeves rolled, sink gleaming when done. Impressive, yet calculated. In the living room, Leo colored alone. Ava approached. "What a pretty drawing, show me." He dropped his crayon, shrinking back, distrust in his eyes. She forced a smile. Such a shy boy. Alex oblivious, shared wine, laughter booming. As they left, Alex's gaze on Ava adoring. I stood at the door, unease settling like dust. Neighborhood lights flickered on, distant dogs barking. "Mrs. Ramirez waved, curious. "New girlfriend? Hope she's good to the boy." Days later, community reactions trickled in at the market, scents of fresh produce mingling. Shoppers whispered, "Alex deserves happiness, but so soon?" I nodded politely, but doubts grew. Ava's charm masked something. A subtle motive, hidden tension. "Leo's bedtime that night," he whispered. "I miss Mommy." I held him, heart aching, foreshadowing storms ahead as Ava wove deeper into our lives. Ava's integration felt like a slow encroachment, her visits increasing as summer heat baked the sidewalks, mirages shimmering on Phoenix streets. One bright morning, she arrived unannounced, smile wide. "Betty, let's take Leo to the park." I hesitated, smelling her floral perfume clashing with my brewing tea, but agreed, thinking fresh air might help. Leo went reluctantly, hand limp in hers. They returned hours later, Ava triumphant. He loved the slides. But Leo's shirt bore dirt stains, his face pale, toy car clutched tight. He nodded mutely to my questions, eyes downcast. That night, as crickets chirped outside, he whispered, "She pushed me too hard on the swing." Another day, while Alex worked, Ava dropped by. I overheard from the kitchen, knife pausing over vegetables. "Stay still, Leo. You're acting like a baby." Her tone sharp, unlike her usual sweetness. I entered. She switched instantly. "Look at his tower." Leo's lips pressed thin, eyes pleading. I smiled tightly, unease rooting deeper. Neighborhood kids played outside, laughter contrasting our tension. A mom across the street later asked, New stepmom? Leo seems quiet lately. Leo's birthday arrived, fall leaves crunching underfoot. Lucy baked his chocolate cake all morning, kitchen filled with cocoa's rich scent. Candles lit, Leo's eyes sparkled. Aunt Lucy, my favorite. He hugged her fiercely. Ava clapped half-heartedly, her gift a pat. Happy birthday, champ. Leo shrank, joy dimming. Guests, family, neighbors chatted amid balloon pops and cake crumbs, but Ava's indifference stood out. Media snippets on similar family blends played on TV later, stirring my doubts. A grocery trip with Alex and Ava turned sour. Returning, Ava griped. Leo dropped the candy. I paid extra. Clumsy kid. Alex scolded. Be careful, son. Leo's head bowed, seeking my eyes. I comforted him, but questioned Ava's patience. Why so quick to anger? Unlike Maria's gentleness. At school pickup, amid playground shouts and chalk dust, his teacher pulled me aside. Leo's withdrawn. Issues at home? I downplayed, but heart pounded. On the drive, autumn wind whipping leaves, Leo tugged my sleeve. Grandma, I don't want to be with Miss Ava. She doesn't love me. His words, raw and true, cracked my denial. Lucy, overhearing, sighed deeply. The pieces aligned, but what next? The wedding loomed, invitations arriving like ticking clocks. Wedding buzz electrified the air as September waned. Florida's golden sun promising joy, but my gut twisted with foreboding. Media outlets ran feel-good stories on second chances, photos of beaming couples. Locally, neighbors gossiped over fences. Alex's big day hope that Ava's the one. Preparations consumed us, dress fittings amid fabric swishes and pinpricks, menu tastings with savory bites that now seemed sinister given Leo's allergy. Lucy helped quietly, her smiles strained, folding napkins with precise creases, her unspoken love for Alex hanging like unspoken words. The day arrived, ballroom aglow with candles' honeyed light, roses' perfume mingling with jazz notes. I sat at table 8 with Leo and Lucy, her beige dress simple amid opulence. Leo vroomed his toy car softly. Lucy fed him bread bits. One more, sweetie. Alex circulated in his suit, toasts ringing. Ava sparkled, wine glass perpetual. Waiters served appetizers, crackers, dips, shrimp. Leo pushed the plate away. I frowned. Not hungry? He shook head, secretive. Ava's glance our way tightened, her smile briefly. Leo's car rolled under. He dove for it, emerging pale with a paper. Grandma, let's go. His whisper urgent. You didn't look under the table, did you? I did, retrieving the note. Shrimp for the child. Horror surged. Leo trembled. I hugged him, mind reeling. Lucy's eyes questioned. I slipped to the hallway, heart thumping, spotting waiter David by the bar, laughter jarring. Know this? I thrust the note. He paled. Mine dropped it. A woman gave it for the chef. Who? He shrugged, panicked. Didn't know, just followed. Rage boiled Leo's life at stake. The MC's voice boomed for mains. Time pressed. I had to act, but how? The ballroom's facade cracked, danger imminent. Back in the ballroom, aromas of roasted meats wafting, I stood firm, Leo's hand in mine. One moment. My voice cut through, silencing the room. Eyes turned, jazz faded. I held the note aloft. Who ordered shrimp for the child at table 8? Whispers erupted. Alex rushed over, confused. Mom? He read, paling. Ava approached, surprise feigned. A joke? I accused. Attempted murder, Leo's allergic. Silence fell. Guests gaped. Ava laughed mockingly. No name? Child's tale? Fury rose. Lucy stood, slapping Ava. Enough! You're the wicked one. Echo resounded. Ava sobbed to Alex. Jealousy. But doubts shifted. I summoned David. Confirm. He nodded. Woman gave it. Gloria, Ava's sister, sobbed. Ava asked me to deliver, I didn't know. Murmurs of horror. Ava yelled. Lies! Lucy demanded cameras. Ava ashen, silent confession enough. Chaos reigned. The wedding shattered. Truth exposed. Security arrived amid stunned silence, escorting Ava out, her dress trailing like defeated dreams. Guests whispered contemptuously, Cruel woman! Police took statements in a side room, fluorescent lights harsh, questions probing Ava denied, but no charges, evidence thin. Neighborhood and media exploded post-wedding. Tabloid headlines, wedding poison plot, calls flooding. Some blaming Alex, others pitying Leo. Weeks blurred, our home quiet save for Leo's laughter returning. I cooked comforts, cheesy pasta's gooey warmth, but Lucy healed him truly, packing lunches with notes, allergy alerts crayoned cheerfully. Park afternoons, kite strings taut in wind, her encouragement mending his spirit. One feverish night, she tended him with stories, Alex watching gratefully, eyes lingering. At dinner, steam rising from pasta, Leo declared, "I want Aunt Lucy as my mommy." Silence, then Alex's tears. I squeezed his shoulder. "Love from the heart, son." Ava vanished. Alex proposed to Lucy quietly, her yes radiant. Their small ceremony backyard, spring blooms scenting air sealed our healing. I watched Leo run, kite soaring, knowing family endures through chosen bonds, scars fading in love's light.